Two major defense companies are in a battle for the future of Canada's fighter jet fleet.
Critics argue that, the scores obviously favored the F-35 because the Royal Canadian Air Force has always wanted the F-35, so that the tasks or the criteria might have been biased in favor of the F-35.
Locked in a trade fight with Donald Trump, you may have heard that the Carney government is reconsidering its multi-billion-dollar purchase of American F-35 fighter jets. Now, the leading candidate as possible replacement would be the Swedish Gripen.
A debate that began as a routine defense procurement question has evolved into one of Canada's most consequential national crossroads. What started as a standard military purchase has grown into a broader discussion about economic priorities, long-term sovereignty, and the direction of Canadian defense policy. Viewers who follow global patterns know that many countries struggle to balance security with financial responsibility, but the weight of Canada's dilemma feels distinctly heavier. The decisions unfolding now will shape not only the country's air power, but also its economic commitment, industrial autonomy, and its role within an increasingly unpredictable alliance landscape. Canada entered the F-35 program with the belief that it was joining a predictable, thoroughly mapped-out arrangement. Officials expressed confidence that pricing had been scrutinized, timelines understood, and sustainment requirements calculated with precision. When the government announced a projected cost of 19 billion Canadian dollars in 2022, the figure was presented as a product of detailed planning and years of interdepartmental evaluation. That number quickly became a political benchmark. A promise of the most expensive fighter acquisition in Canadian history would proceed with discipline and transparency. Those expectations proved short-lived. By 2025, the projected total soared to $27.7 billion, a near 50% jump within a single budget cycle. The increase startled Parliament and rattled analysts inside the defense community. It raised immediate questions about whether the initial estimate had underestimated essential components of the program: maintenance networks, weapon systems, sustainment cycles, and the extensive infrastructure required to operate the aircraft properly. The unease deepened when senior officials acknowledged that they could not guarantee the new figure would hold. Briefing documents indicated a lengthy list of variables: exchange rates, supply chain volatility, facility reconstruction, and software-related sustainment that could push costs even higher. The official number, critics warned, resembled a momentary snapshot rather than a final calculation. Political pressure intensified as more detail surfaced. Opposition leaders framed the entire program as a sequence of delays, cost revisions, and shifting commitments. They argued that the government had downplayed the program's inherent uncertainty and failed to acknowledge the full scale of what the F-35 ecosystem required. The Auditor General, Karen Hogan, added institutional weight to these concerns, noting that significant cost factors, ranging from weapon procurement to long-term sustainment, had not been fully incorporated into earlier projections. Once analysts began assessing complete operational landscape surrounding the aircraft, a more sobering picture emerged. Some projections pointed to a potential total near $33.2 billion once base upgrades, weapons, and extended maintenance obligations were integrated. What had been described as a straightforward aircraft purchase gradually revealed itself as a multi-decade financial structure touching nearly every corner of the Canadian Armed Forces. One of the most revealing issues involved infrastructure. Officials confirmed that roughly $5.5 billion worth of base modifications were never reflected in early public discussions. Cold Lake and Bagotville, the core bases designated to host a fleet, found their initial plans overshadowed by a flood of new technical requirements. Hangars needed to be redesigned, power systems upgraded, hardened cybersecurity layers added, and entire operational facilities rebuilt to meet the F-35's environmental and security standards. Rather than acquiring a fighter that fit into Canada's existing structure, the country found itself reshaping major installations around the aircraft. Criticism did not remain confined to opposition benches. Former military leaders warned that the program might limit Canada's broader operational flexibility. They pointed to pilot shortages, hangar constraints, and the strategic implications of relying heavily on a single foreign supplier. These concerns carried additional weight because Prime Minister Mark Carney had campaigned on maintaining a careful balance between cooperation with allies and maintaining Canadian autonomy. The growing symbolism of deeper reliance on U.S. supply chains increasingly conflicted with earlier political messaging. Inside government, uncertainty became pervasive. Internal briefing notes revealed that portions of the planning process still relied on data dating back to 2019. Some departments reported only moderate confidence, often around 50%, that the updated cost models represented realistic projections. With so many unknowns, no official could state confidently where the final price would land. Meanwhile, the global landscape underscored how fragile even fixed arrangements could be. Switzerland offered a revealing example. After approving 36 of 35 as in 2021 under what it believed was a locked-in cost of 6 billion Swiss francs, the country later faced adjustments imposed through the U.S. program's evolving requirements. What had appeared airtight shifted with time, demonstrating that the stability promised in fighter contracts can be more aspirational than guaranteed to IN Canada. These experiences prompted a deeper review led by Defense Minister Bill Blair. The reassessment extended beyond comparing aircraft models. One component examined whether future fighters could be assembled within Canada, allowing the country to regain industrial leverage and reduce its dependence on foreign suppliers. At the same time, discussions with European partners expanded to explore ways of minimizing reliance on American production lines and logistics systems. Swedish designs like the Gripen began receiving renewed attention for their potential contributions to Canadian autonomy and industrial capacity. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly added another concern: whether Canada could remain strategically flexible while committing to a platform whose support structure was almost entirely controlled outside its borders. That question now sits at the center of a national debate that shows no signs of settling soon. Industry Minister Mélanie Joly questioned why a program worth billions had delivered so little benefit to Canadian manufacturers and workers. She argued that defense spending should reinforce national capability, not funnel economic value abroad. Her position reflected a broader view of national security, one that extends beyond military readiness and includes domestic technological capacity, control over upgrades, and the ability to sustain industry well into the future. Canada has already committed to its first 16 F-35s. The remaining 72, however, are not locked in, and that single detail leaves space for alternatives that seemed unthinkable a few years ago. When Ottawa began re-evaluating its options, the Gripen entered the conversation not for reasons of prestige, but for practical fit. A country of Canada's scale faces operational demands unlike those of most allies. Vast distances, scattered population centers, Arctic readiness, and remote northern stations all impose conditions where sustainability matters. As much as raw capability to IN 2024, defense analyst Richard James released an assessment estimating that the Gripen's long-term life cycle cost could be as much as 60% lower than that of the F-35. His analysis looked beyond the purchase price and focused on the decades of flying hours, maintenance cycles, parts supply chains, and sustainment infrastructure that determine true operational cost. The conclusions drew attention. The Gripen's entire ecosystem is designed for affordability and simplicity, features that align directly with Canada's logistical realities. The aircraft's functional design also matches Canada's geography. The Gripen can operate from short, improvised runways, stretches of highway, and forward locations requiring minimal preparation. This ability significantly reduces the need for expensive base reconstruction in remote regions. Its support requirements are modest. A small crew can turn the jet around for another mission within minutes. Reports from multiple users show readiness rates consistently above 85%, an important contrast to the F-35, whose availability benchmarks have struggled across several international fleets. These comparisons sharpen a central question. Should Canada aim for the most technically advanced aircraft available, or the one it can reliably operate across its enormous territory every day of the year? Support for the Gripen is not driven solely by performance metrics. Advocates emphasize the economic dimension, where Canadian tax dollars go, what they create, and how much value stays inside the country. Saab's proposal offers something Canada has rarely seen in a fighter procurement. It includes domestic assembly of the Gripen E, significant technology transfer, and a pathway for Canada to develop its own upgrade processes rather than depending on decisions made abroad. Early projections suggest the potential for up to 10,000 aerospace jobs connected to production, integration, and long-term maintenance. Saab has also committed to 100% industrial offsets, meaning the entire value of the contract would return to Canada through investment, subcontracting, and direct manufacturing activity. Despite substantial industrial advantages, government debate remains intense. Air Force leadership warns that adopting a second fighter type would introduce structural complexity. Training streams would need separation, simulators duplicated, maintenance pipelines expanded, and logistics networks diversified. Each of these elements carries cost. Retired Chief of the Defense Staff Tom Lawson has argued that the Gripen strengths do not outweigh what he considers the F-35's superior combat performance in high-intensity environments, yet the economic and industrial side of government counters with another perspective. Many G7 nations operate mixed fleets without sacrificing readiness or efficiency. In fact, they often gain resilience from diversification. A second aircraft type reduces dependence on a single foreign supplier and lowers vulnerability to supply chain disruptions or unilateral policy changes. From this viewpoint, a mixed fleet may deliver strategic flexibility while keeping long-term costs below those associated with relying entirely on one platform whose upgrades and sustainment cycles are externally controlled. This divide touches something deeper than procurement mechanics. It reflects an ongoing struggle over Canada's identity in defense and industry. One side emphasizes military uniformity and interoperability above all else. The other argues that industrial independence, domestic capability, and long-term economic strength are inseparable from real national security. The decision will shape Canada's strategic posture for at least a generation. Beneath the technical comparisons lies a choice mirrored in countries around the world. Pursue the most advanced platform on the market, or adopt a model that integrates defense modernization with national economic development. Programs of this scale shape which industries grow, which technologies take root, and how much sovereign control a nation maintains over the core elements of its defense. Canada now stands at a structural crossroads. Staying solely with the F-35 deepens North American military integration, but sends most economic value outward. Considering the Gripen offers a different path, one where domestic capability expands alongside military renewal. Through all of this, one question remains constant. Should a fighter serve only as a weapon system, or as part of a broader national strategy